You're listening to Coffee, Chaos, and ProdSec. I'm Kurt Handel, a pragmatically paranoid security architect who believes burned out teams build burned up products. Alongside me is Cameron Walters, an AppSec and DevSecOps fanatic who builds guardrails so good developers barely notice they're there. We bring the unfiltered takes so you don't have to sit through another vendor webinar. So grab your coffee. Coffee, Chaos, and ProdSec starts now. Ooh, flashing the mug right at the intro. Nice.
Dude, you nailed the intro. Wow. First
I stuttered
try.
on one word. That's a
It
little
was
rough.
good. I
I'm out
enjoyed
of
it.
practice. I'm moving and the rest of it, but who cares about that? We're back for another one. If you like it, 5 stars, subscribe, like. What else do we do,
Smash the
Cameron?
smash. Comment,
Smash the
like,
smash.
subscribe, follow, give us 5 stars. 5 stars helps the podcast a lot. So please do that. Same with following. Shout us out. Join us in Discord and Slack. That is also fun. I'm also posting lots of stuff in there. I'm going to post a cheat sheet from I think these next two episodes.
Yep.
And I'm soliciting feedback. There's often you can influence the podcast. This episode is influenced from somebody who reached out to me. So if you reach out to us on LinkedIn, we're always looking for ideas and new things to talk about. If there's nothing on fire in the industry, just like last episode we talked about GitHub. So if you haven't listened to that one,
There's
jump into
always
that one.
fires.
There's always fires, but I mean
Always.
we can't jump on everyone. We're gonna have to do like a whole separate
Yeah.
podcast. It's just a daily fire because the news cycle for the cybersecurity right now is just on fire. It's bananas.
Um, the image for that, the cover image for that one will be "This is fine"
Yeah.
with the dog and the fire and the rest of it.
Yep.
So that's every day.
It's every day. It's a good one. Good time.
Yep. So
Coffee.
you've already hinted we've got 2 episodes
Yeah.
coming on a single topic.
Yes. Yes.
So what is it? Why are we doing 2 episodes? Why is it what is so big that we need 2 episodes?
Well, the big thing that we wanted to talk about, and I think this is something, it's really prudent for me. I was really happy this came up because it's something I've been meaning to do. Someone asked me if I had could build my own AppSec program or my ProdSec program from the ground up, however I wanted, what would I do? And then they also asked me like, what are like modern things? Like they said that like I'm trying to get into ProdSec. I don't really understand all the different fields, domains, job titles, and things like that come with ProdSec. We've defined ProdSec. I think it's something we might have to do every year. Like we may have to do an episode. This is ProdSec and what's happening. Or, spoiler alert, we're going to be doing quarterly episodes with Absolute AppSec as well as our own quarterly state of ProdSec uh episodes, so that's coming, and maybe we do that every quarter. We see if the prodsec definition has changed in any which way and redefine it every time, because just like at technology and everything, it's all evolving. And so I had a fun exercise. Kurt has just seeing this agenda. He is just seeing my list. I kind of went
30 minutes
nuts.
ago.
Yeah, 30 minutes ago. I went nuts. I pulled everything together. You were moving. So I was like, I'm going to tackle this agenda. I'm going to build this out. And I'm hoping there's a bit of disagreement. We often agree
There
in a lot of
is.
things, but I think there is some
I just
disagreements.
kept my mouth shut when we were previewing this before
Previewing?
we started.
Oh, great. That'll be fun. Well, I'm excited. We'll jump into it. We'll debate. I mean, that's the beauty of opinions. Everybody's got one. Yours is wrong. It's okay. It's okay. But
Yeah, I can't catch a break. Like I just got done moving, man. Like I'm tired. I can't fight this anymore.
I gotta
I'll come
hype you
back
up.
next week.
Gotta get you excited. My number one guest. So gotta get there.
I see what you're trying to do there.
Good times, good times.
Only been the
But
guest 40 times. Now we're on 41.
41, it's crazy. But the goal is
Bananas.
to walk through in these episodes is to define why this is happening, and then through I've defined it into 8 domains that I always say would anybody would encounter in a modern or in one variation in a current ProdSec environment. So we'll jump in through that. I think it'll be real fun. But the most important thing, Kurt, what coffee are you drinking? Have you set up your coffee machine? Did you change the beans? I assume you're literally living on coffee right now, and you've gone through like 7 bags because you've just been it's like an IV at this point.
I yeah. So I did set up the coffee machine. That was like priority on moving day. I actually had to make a separate run back to my previous house to get the coffee machine because we didn't pack it in a box because it's such an important item. So it's like, I'm not letting the movers touch this thing.
Mm,
So I haven't changed the beans. So since the last episode, I think it's still the Doma Bonnie's Blend coffee that was smooth and delicious. I am running on fumes. I'm running on caffeine for a week now. It's going to be that way for a while. But hey, I'm going on vacation next week. So I'll come back and I'll be ready to go again.
yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that. Just so you guys know, we're recording this episode, and then tomorrow we're recording the following episode.
Back.
They're back to back, so he'll be in what, episode 43. 43. You'll be refreshed and ready to go. Hopefully, you'll be a little more refreshed tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see. I'm coming off a massive gaming session, so again, another video game came out last
Fire.
Friday.
Extra hype.
Yeah, extra high. I was prepping all the way weeks leading up, speed running the campaign, getting my timing as much as I could. It went okay. So I took some notes, like typical me. I took a bunch of notes and like, hey, here are the areas. I did like a retrospective on my efficiency in the game. So I got
That
some
is
room to
serious
improve.
business.
It is serious business. So well, I
Like,
hate.
I just, you got to send me one of these keys so I can try to play your games with
Yeah,
you.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you. I'll give you a key. But yeah, I hate the campaign. I hate story in games. I like getting the end game, the grind. The fun part is putting a build together and maturing through the gear of the progression of that is much more fun to me than story. So I just try to blow through that
Smashing.
as fast. Yeah, yeah. But coffee, I've been living on coffee too, dude. I've gone through so much coffee. But I am having it's another Mr. Brown because again, we're recording at almost 5 o'clock, or it's like few minutes to 5. And so I need something with less caffeine, which Mr. Brown is not too much. It's macadamia nut with, again, artificial flavors, iced coffee. So, and it's one of my favorite cans because it's got like like trees on it and flowers, and it's the fun one. So it is smooth, it is delicious, and it's gonna help me get through this episode.
Nice. Feel like I need to just get a second coffee maker in my newfound office in the new house.
Yeah, in your
So
office, and that you can just
I
brew
would
coffee whenever.
just, yeah, I was telling you about my plans for a new setup. I might have to add a coffee maker to it, so I just roll over and press the button and grab another brew. Because I've run out sometimes. Like I'm already halfway done because I didn't follow the rules and I started drinking before we started drinking coffee. I should say I'm not drinking whiskey or anything like that. That's for later. But yeah,
Sure.
started drinking it before recording, so I'll probably finish it before we wrap up. But that's okay.
Mm, okay. It's okay. Well, I kind of wanted to level set the oh my gosh, sorry, one second. I had to fix this. There we go. Give me a heart attack for a second. I guess the OBS was a little lower and I was like, did we hit the record button? We did hit the
Uh,
record button.
we
So,
did.
there's one time I
God,
did not hit, and that was emotionally devastating.
took
Emotionally
a few
devastating.
minutes to realize.
It was
It's
brutal
rough.
because I did the intro on that one really good. So, and then I fumbled it the next time. So,
It
it's a little
happens.
unfair. It's a little frustrating. So
You
we're good.
know,
We're good.
one
We're good.
time out of 41, it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. But back to the episode. The big thing
So
I
building a
wanted to
project
building a
program.
project, right? There's a few points that I wanted to bring into is that like we're landing in a world right now where companies as big as GitHub are getting popped through little holes, little things.
We just talked about that last
We just talked
week.
about that. We listened through
It
that
only
one.
takes one person.
I personally think there is this trade off happening. And I kind of want to, before we get into the actual main section, I want to see your opinion. But I feel like there is, in a way, old security and new security. I talk with a lot of CISOs. I go to a lot of CISO dinners. Side note, why does every CISO dinner have to be at a steakhouse? Like, why does it always have to be at a steakhouse? I'm a
Yep.
vegetarian, literally a vegetarian. I get invited all these. I had a vendor reach out to me like, "Hey, we're having a CISO dinner we're sponsoring. It's at a Brazilian steakhouse." And I was like, "I'm vegetarian," and they're like, "We can bring in vegetarian food." I'm like, "I'm not gonna what? They're gonna be cardi like I'm not." I'm okay with other people eating meat, but I don't want to be like in a sea of meat.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, those places, the popular ones usually have a pretty big salad bar. So, but I agree. Every CISO dinner I get invited to seems to be steak as the primary on the menu, and I'm just like, why? I mean, let's mix it up a bit.
Mix it up a bit, right? Mix it up a little. All right. Distracted by that, had to say it because I was a little annoyed. But I feel
Still a
like
hot
there's
take.
there's a super hot take. There's steak and potatoes versus eat your salads and pasta.
Let's have a healthy CISO dinner.
Or sushi, dude. Let's go to like conveyor bait sushi. Yeah, take me to conveyor bait sushi and we'll chit chat as
Conveyor
we're all
belt
just.
sushi.
That would
Can you
be
imagine the
fun.
size of the stack of plates at the end of that one?
Right? Be fun.
That'd be
And then we're all just like
bananas.
ching ching ching. Yeah, let's do that. Uh,
We got a lot of those up here in Seattle, man. It's
oh,
fun.
we got a couple. We have a couple out here that are opening up that opened up recently, so we've been going. It's been great. But we're totally distracted. The one of the things that I feel is there's old guard versus new guard cybersecurity folks. There's like there's I feel like right now we're in this big trip. Tech is always changing, right? We've always discussed that tech is literally always changing. But I talk to a lot of CISOs that go to these dinners, and a lot of them are just like, no, we need to do the basics that we've been doing for like 25 years, and that'll carry us through this AI hype and this AI, thing. And I'm like, I personally just don't agree with that. I feel like this is not the cloud or something else where you bolt on new technology. We are having a fundamental ground shakeup of ProdSec that the mentality that is just it doesn't make sense anymore. So I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, everything is shifting, and I mean, I've talked to CISOs where they say, "Yeah, stick to the basics. We'll get through it." Like a lot of what you know and a lot of what you do works with AI, but at the same time, like we're seeing a fundamental shift in how fast technology moves, how attackers move. The basis of attackers or the entry point, the I should say the barrier to entry is much lower. So what AI has done is enabled the masses to do what very few people could do in the past. And that's been proven via all of these big bad models. Like everyone freaks out about Mythos, and like this was broken long before Mythos. Is when some nation state, what was it? I think China weaponized Claude Code pretty early on. It was like a year ago almost at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, the basics are fine, but what are you going to do about the speed and the new technology that you now have to protect and the things you have to guard against? Like it's everything's amplifying exponentially faster. And so you have to change your mindset to be ready for that. And then I
Yeah.
meet CISOs who are like, yeah, we're changing everything. Like your priorities just shifted overnight. You can't just apply the same principles that you used to and get away with it.
Yeah. But I feel like that's the minority. Like I feel like majority of CISOs I'm talking to, again, I feel like it's old guard versus new guard, and the well seasoned, well done CISOs are like they're like, I'm 5 years away from retirement or from that tunnel. I can see it. I want like I'm just holding on to get through this, and then like I don't want to have to go relearn everything and put all that time in there. Whereas the ones that I see are changing are more like, I got 15, 20 more years of being a CISO, so I understand this is sort of shifting. Do you disagree or
Yeah.
no?
I mean, there is an element of tenure and what your career plans are and whatnot, but I also think like industry factors into it. Some industries are further behind in technology than others. More tech companies are at the forefront. They're adopting AI faster. Their security teams are having to adapt much faster. Um, and sometimes the CISO will reflect that team that they have that is pushing the envelope, and sometimes they'll just kind of they wear the title. And frankly, just because they're not learning doesn't mean their team's not learning and adapting.
Yeah,
So
I can see
it's
that.
it's highly contextual. I think the new guard, so to speak, obviously is thinking very much for the future as we are every day. Like I think I talked about AI security in 4 meetings in a row today. And like you were on one of them.
Yeah, yeah, true. Which leads us in the first section, right? Which is the agentic SDLC. How essentially our structures now break all of ProdSec. I truly believe that. I think the agentic SDLC, if you want to call it the agentic secure SDLC, the whatever AI flavor of agentic and SDLC you want to come up with the combination, that is all broken, right? Everybody agrees what is happening today has fundamentally broken everything. And I think it all comes down to one core, a couple of core different things. But the general biggest adoption around AI is code. So developers are now able to produce, we can talk about code quality. I want to set that aside for now. We can get into the that in a few, but everyone is developing more code. Like that
Yep.
is what is happening. There is more code coming across the wire, and it's moving at a speed that was not ready, or is wasn't art. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that today's modern tools were built for the speed of a human, whereas
Yeah.
we've moved, even because we all our tooling was under the assumption that there would be some human at the loop, where we most likely scan. Those foundations have broken, and now we're in this world where AI is now writing the code, and we've kind of turn all the vendors and technologies and ways we do things upside down, which then ripples through all of ProdSec. And that's the whole point of these two episodes, is to talk through existing, right? I guess I should have said this earlier, but one of the objectives is to talk through where we're headed, what we're doing around ProdSec, as well as if you're new to ProdSec, what are the traditional domains that you would probably see in a modern or today's program versus what's coming, or what, like, if we could greenfield it, but also what's currently there, traditional. So yeah. Um, where was I going with that?
Kind of setting the stage because
Yep.
when people think product security, like the tendency is still to think, okay, I'm building a product and I'm securing it. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do SaaS and DAS and SCA and typical AppSec things. I'm going to threat model. I'm going to look at architectures. And it's with the introduction of AI, all of this is moving faster. We're getting more code than ever. And like humans, they're still there, but they're more of an anchor. They can slow a process down, whereas everyone's trying to speed up. And what does more code mean? It means more vulnerabilities. How do you address more vulnerabilities at scale in the thousands to tens of thousands? Humans can't do it.
Yeah.
So the domains that we're going to talk about, they are all fundamentally changing because of AI. And so we're setting this up for the future, not the current state and the recent past.
Yeah, exactly. And we're seeing, as this code is being, right, you'll see metrics fly all across the line that 40% of code is AI generated, and roughly like 40% of AI generated code is accepted without versioning control or review or something like that, right? Like there is review fatigue.
Well,
I
you
think
got the AI doing the review, and it's just like, "That sounds great," because
well,
my other AI wrote that.
oh, and humans, right? Humans, like, we talked about this in another episode
We've
too.
been
Again,
trained and conditioned to just hit the button because you
that
get
too,
approval fatigue.
but also from the security side and from the code side, like my favorite part of writing code is writing code. My favorite part was not architecting and having someone else write
Not
the code.
reviewing PRs.
Yeah, PRs are not fun. It was the least favorite part of my job all the time. And now we have told all coders, you are PR reviewers
Yeah,
of
that's your job
code
now.
that is probably spaghetti half the time, right? I said I wouldn't get into the code quality. I did. My bad. Take that back. Everyone delete that from your brain.
Spitting
Um,
truths.
I guess. But no one likes to do that, right? Like, it's not the most fun part of your day. The most fun part of your day when you're a developer is writing cool algorithms, cool code that's slick, that's fun, that solves a problem, that is interesting. That was fun. That was is solving a complex challenge that you had to think through. And now you're just like, I need you to build XYZ. And so it's coming across the line, right? And so the human, everything. So you look at like tooling from all the developer side, as well as like where like GitHub and PRs, and are PRs even relevant, right? I see that all the time over LinkedIn. Are PRs dead? Will PRs die? Will GitHub go away? Does it make sense to even have GitHub at any point, right? Again, it comes back to the agentic SDLC. When humans are no longer the primary point of software delivery, does that disrupt all current mechanisms and tools? And I would say yes, 100%. AI is a disruptive technology, and it's going to keep disrupting.
Question around like, do SEMs need to continue to exist is an interesting one.
So,
So let's think
by
like,
SCM,
why do
source
they
code
exist?
management, right?
Right. So GitHub, GitLab,
Yeah.
you want to do a throwback? Like I remember using like ClearCase and
Oh my
SVN
gosh.
and
Oh,
yeah,
CVS
Dude,
or
I
CVS,
I
right? Was
worked
the old.
DoD at some point,
Oof.
so yeah, it was rough. But like, why does it exist in the first place? And like, there part of it is like there's an audit trail on your code. You can back out certain breaking changes and keep others, and like you can collaborate much better. So do we need to completely blow it up, or does it need to be disrupted and changed to adapt to this agentic future so that the same principles hold true and the same things are possible, just faster?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's all above everything you said. I also think even further, right? I think you're in a general agreement with me. Is that because we have AI and this all these different technologies, we're about to talk about I summed it up into 8 different domains. Agree to disagree, but I think every one of these domains is becoming an engineering domain. The
Well,
world of
it's
ProdSec is no longer you have to be an engineer now. Like you cannot describe yourself as not an engineer. Everybody who I talk to, like if you were like, I don't like coding, I don't like this. I'm like, that is not the world you can live in anymore with agentic AI, because now you can have AI do your engineering.
absolutely everyone can be an engineer, and it used to be like being a developer was a highly specialized discipline. I mean, you and I both, we came out of school, we were developers. We've come up the ranks, we jumped into security. You're still much closer to development than I am because I went the weird architect route and I just draw boxes on a page and connect them and like go build
Paper
it.
planes,
No,
planes.
that's I built an airplane today. It's great. It it still needs a wing though. Anyway, so the domain, most of the domains I would argue have always been engineering disciplines. There's going to be one especially that stands out across the series of 2 episodes, I think. But I also agree that we've seen a lot of people with backgrounds that are not necessarily engineering focused, they're not coders, etc., in the security space, and they're struggling right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, you go on the cybersecurity subreddit, and people are always asking, "How do I break into security? What do I need to know?" Like, I come from X, Y, and Z background, and it's generally, well, it's going to help if you become an engineer and understand how software is built. Like AI, of course, you got to know how to use AI, and then secure it. There's a lot to it, but let's get into the domains because we could just talk
I
about
agree.
this topic forever in
It's true.
general.
It's true. But there's one last thing I wanted to I wanted to put, because when I prompted this question to a few people in our community channels and community Slack and Discords, the immediate question people got was like, when you have, I asked them like, when you have a greenfield program, how do you build your ProdSec program? And the immediate thing is questions, right? I think it's the right approach. You're like, well, what's the program? What's this? What's this? What's this? I'm like, the point of the exercise is, right? If you're listening right now, pause, and I would encourage you to write down what, if you had to or if you had to create your own program, what's your immediate reaction? I bet a lot of people are going to immediately jump towards questions and be like, well, what's the program? What am I securing? What is this? What are the company objectives? And I'm like, but that's not the exercise. The exercise is you have a greenfield ProdSec program that you need to build. And some people are like, well, is it software or not? And I'm like, every company's software. Literally everybody's doing software. You're gonna have to have a website. Sometimes you have to have a web app. You have to have a mobile app. Everybody in one way is a software company, 99% of companies are software. I would it would be really interesting if somebody reached out to me and was like, we have a ProdSec program and we don't do software." And I'm like, "All right, how do you have a ProdSec program then?
Like,
Because isn't ProdSec
yeah,
literally software?"
like, yeah. I mean, you're
Yeah.
building software products and securing them. Like the world is run by software and
Yeah.
technology. There's computers in literally almost everything these days. Like there's people that say, "Oh, well, what if we get hit by an EMP? Your car's not going to work anymore. You're going to be stuck. There's 100 computers in your car or whatever it is, unless you own a car that dates back to like the 70s, and then great, you can still drive around. Maybe I should get one. I don't know,
Yeah. But
but it everywhere you go today, there is software.
so
So
that was like pause the episode, write down what you think before we go into the domains. This is your chance to pause. All right. So the first domain, application security. Now, I want to before we get into that one, I want to say DevSecOps is dead. I'm going to throw that statement out there. We'll start out with that one. I think DevSecOps is gone. In today's modern world, DevSecOps is gone. DevSecOps, I've had the title of DevSecOps. I've had the title of AppSec engineer. I've done both things. They were the same job. They were literally the same job. So DevSecOps, most companies is about integrating your system or integrating your code level system or code level tools into your SDLC. So into like GitHub and your CI/CD pipelines and pipelines in general. That's usually what DevSecOps. Some companies define it slightly different. So if you're thinking about it, AppSec and DevSecOps are usually one and the same. Go look at job descriptions. It'll be hard to see the difference. Maybe most of the time AppSec ones are longer. They'll have threat modeling in there. Like they'll have threat modeling and pen testing, whereas DevSecOps will be like integrate these tools and do integrations and integrate and integrate and integrate. It's just gonna be a ton of that. And automate, sorry, and automate. So I think
building
in
pipelines and builds and such.
yeah, and so I think DevSecOps is dead because there's what's the agentic world that we're in? The agentic world is that all our current AppSec tools like SAS, SCA, and DAS don't hold up in this speed, the velocity, and the way code is being designed today. And where are we headed? Look at all the vendors. All the vendors are heading to skills, harnesses. And another thing, I see a lot of people saying shift left is dead, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Literally explain to me, because then they're like, oh, but we're scanning at generation, and I'm like, all right, so we just shifted left. Like, what do
Yeah,
you
you're still shifting left.
still shifting left? Like
You
it's
haven't
what
hit the wall yet.
yeah, like if you take a it drives me crazy when it drove me nuts when somebody said this, and I was just like, "Are you're bananas? It's bananas. What you're saying is bananas because agent is replacing a human, and what were we doing before humans? We were training them through secure coding, and we were dropping IDE plugins to scan their code, and we were dropping pre-commit plugins and things to scan their code before it even gets commit. What are we doing with AI? We're dropping skills, we're dropping prompts and things, embedding it into the prompt at generation or right after generation to generate secure code. It's the same left. We're still going left.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to a vendor today about exactly this of like, look, every organization in the world has a set of security standards. What are our security requirements for the things that we're building or the data we want to protect? You have to be very explicit about these things. In the age of AI, you could write that with AI, by the way. It can find it on the internet and summarize it for you. But we, in the old days, and I'm going to sound old, of course, we used to have a group of like security architects or technical folks write these standards and requirements. What can you do with that now? You can literally get a skill or tap into an MCP server, whatever, to make those requirements considered at code generation.
Yeah.
And so like this is honestly where I'm trying to take my program right now. Like I own threat model in my current role. I don't want it manually done anymore. I want this to all happen as things are built. I don't want engineers to have to spend time drawing pictures and diagrams and the rest of it. Build your cloud MD file, build your security MD file. You are literally documenting your product as you build it with AI. and I want the security review to happen along with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. You're getting a little ahead of us, jumping into the second part
Oh,
there, good sir.
they're bleeding. They're converging. Like as we shift left, they're starting to come together a bit.
That's good. I mean, I agree. I agree, but
So,
I disagree a little too.
oh,
Um, we'll get into that one, but traditionally in AppSec, you see SAS, DAS, SCA, code reviews, maybe a little bit of. Sometimes they own full threat modeling. Sometimes they do micro threat modeling, containers, infrastructure as code, artifact integration, signing. Somehow SBOMs always fall into security, and I'm like, but SBOMs are just a bill of materials. It's a list of what's used, so it's really a software thing, not a security thing. But for some reason, it all goes to security. But that's because we have to scan everything, so it comes to us. But I'm like, it should be really an engineering side. You can bait that one with me. With AI, like obviously all those tools are being flipped upside down. We're having to rethink all those things and manage them in a completely different way. So AppSec is really most of the time when I hear people say AppSec, it's the security of code. It is how to make your applications, your microservices, your systems at as close to code as secure as possible, and that's kind of their role in ProdSec. Yeah, you agree? No, disagree?
I mean, I agree with that part.
I agree with that part. Where do you
I'm
disagree? Or we got to get into the next section first.
Yeah, I mean, so like on the AppSec part, look, I don't really disagree with you on this part. Like the security of code, great, get after
No,
it.
no.
Like traditional tooling is transforming before our eyes, and you and I talk about this at least once a week on how like AI SAST is becoming the latest and greatest version of SAST scanning, like
Well, that's Mythos, right?
patterns and signatures and right. So now we're essentially unleashing AI on all of our software. It's finding attack paths, it's branching in different ways, it's finding vulnerabilities, it's chaining them together. It's doing all of these things we've always wished could happen, but only skilled attackers could actually execute.
Yeah. Well, skilled and funded attackers, right? Or highly motivated ones, right? We got to remember that there's hacktivists out there, and those people are, again, highly motivated and will do whatever they have to do to do what they need to do. So I agree. Yeah, AI is disrupting the entire thing, and it's disrupting it from all sides. Where the attackers are leveling up, as you were saying, and that's probably why we're seeing so much more malware. Team PCP, I think they said in assumption of
The
interviews that they're leveraging a ton of AI, and that
Yep,
companies should. There's typo squatting from AI. AI's hallucinating and pulling in packages that are just close enough, which is
yep.
causing risk. So there's a lot of AI, both good and bad, that is happening and disrupting the place. DAS tools, DAS, everyone's talking about what is it? AI pen testing. And when I first saw AI testing, I still think it today. AI pen testing is just AI DAS. It's literally all it is. It's just the convergence of the two technologies, which makes sense too, because pen testing and DAS always go complementary. But the problem is pen testing requires a human being that I could not do continuously, whereas DAS, it's automated and it grabbed a low hanging fruit. Now I'm taking high fidelity, almost human like automation and running it on my application continuously. That is that's what I've wanted for 10 years. And it's now here. So AI DAS and AI pen testing is the same thing. DAS is just the same.
I have a question.
Okay.
Where does IS fit into all this?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't agree with IS. So
I just wanted to make you squirm a little bit.
I don't know. IS is one of my frustrating. There's RAPS, IS. There's a ton of little these niche tools. IS
A
I feel
lot of
like is
things you never really hear people talk about
Well, it's because
anymore.
the IS is really hard to integrate. Most of the time, IS requires a robust testing cycle, and you have to drop an agent on your test system, and it analyzes the traffic that is going across the wire. The next thing that I've seen, the next evolution of IS I've seen recently, is they're dropping it on your firewall, and it's analyzing at the firewall because it's easier to pick up the traffic from your firewall than having to ask devs and teams to put stuff on their test and build
Yeah.
systems,
Don't
right? It's
change code, just decrypt, inline,
Yeah,
analyze,
and
move on.
analyze what's
But
happening there, and then
right,
try to figure out what packages you're calling, right? So I asked the text what packages are actually used in your application by seeing what came across the wire. So they scan like SCA, and then they also scan in runtime and detect the actual calls that are happening. And then so you get a high fidelity of results because you can prove XYZ libraries were used. But the problem is these are on test systems. Does everybody have 100% test coverage on their QA systems? I would
oh,
say no. I don't know if I've never known a company that could 100% tell me, yes, we have 100%, maybe 99, but still that's 1% of risk that I'm a little concerned about. So, and then they're really expensive. The other part is they're really expensive.
so I'll tell you why I asked the question, because essentially what I wonder is IS dead? Because to me,
Uh,
interactive application security
I think it's
testing,
always been dead.
you're analyzing code in real time as it runs, right? AI has already proven that it can kind of do this. So
Yeah.
IS as a category, I would never even think to go buy it given the capabilities we're seeing in the world today.
Yeah. I mean, today, even
Even
I'd
if
say
I had a big, massive budget, I would just not for me.
even before AI, I would say it was dead. Like I never, it was always for me, at least in my mind, it was a struggling category. And
Yeah,
AI has only just made it for me, it's like put the nail in the coffin because yeah, what made IaaS great was that like you got functional and true reachability analysis, but with AI, you have a better pattern like recognition kind of tool that can detect those things as long as it's tried and true and been tested. But let's say in an ideal world, yeah, AI would probably do the same thing. There's even companies that were doing it before AI. They were building it out using essentially grep analysis. Find XYZ library associated with this function, grep search through the through the code base to see if there are callouts for that. Oh, there is. Yes, it's reachable because you're calling out that function, right? Bing, bang, boom, you're done. You don't need IaaS to do that. It's more accurate, more in for some people it's easier, some people it's not. I don't know, but I think it was already on the way out. Every vendor I've seen in the space has struggled. I talked with startups years ago. I knew plenty of startups, and I would talk to them, and they would ask for advice, and I'd give it, but in my brain, I was like, You're
not
probably not
gonna
going to
make
stick
it.
around." Yeah, and they all got bought out. They're all gone. Like the companies are gone. They got bought out and merged into other technologies. So there was like three different startups that I was helping, and they're gone. So um, yeah, I think it's already gone. So
Yeah,
yeah, there's a bunch of tools in the AppSec space. There's a ton that are change. They have to all change, and there are a ton even before AI that were changing. So yeah, which anything, I mean, just in the interest of time, anything else on AppSec? I think that's kind of the big things I wanted to call out is that we're moving AppSec is really moving towards skills and harnesses and into the agent level to secure things, which is still a shift left. It's still what we're doing. Oh, and the last thing I want to say is that companies are still going to need to do SaaS and SCA and probably DAS because you still need to scan and have a level of assurance. You still have to have that. So you're still going to be at the end of the day scanning your code at some point in some SCM. So that's why I don't think SCMs are gone. That's why I don't think PRs are going to go away because you need some level of assurance no matter what. Um, I don't. There's too many people who are skeptical of AI and skeptical of everything that you have to have a level of assurance. So, and the only way you gain that assurance is by having a vendor that has a predictable and repeatable pattern. So, SaaS, SCA, and DAS, and most AppSec toolings will still be there. But well, the problem is that now AppSec is going to have to be a more expensive team because we're also going to have tools that integrate at the AI level. If your SaaS vendor doesn't do it yet, you're going to have to go purchase another tool, or you're going to work with your current SaaS vendor as they evolve and change and shift into there while they provide both sides, the agent level and code generation, secure code generation, as well as assurance around the code that's going out the door is secure enough or meets your, acceptable risk thresholds.
yeah. I mean, I need the assurance. I'm paranoid by design. That's what I'm paid for, man. I'm skeptical. I'm paid to be skeptical.
That's fair.
Make sure it goes out the door. Make sure it starts secure and it goes out the door secure.
I
If
guess.
it
I guess.
doesn't, we failed.
My brain, it's the CISO who assumes that risk. So there's I keep saying they decide what is an acceptable threshold of risk that can go out the door, and if they set, hey, yeah, you can release with criticals and highs if XYZ patterns, it's going out the door.
Well, I that's an I guess that would be an interesting conversation for another day on who actually owns setting the risk threshold for a company because I feel like the CISO owns it, but often doesn't control it. But
Yeah,
I digress.
yeah. Be a good episode. We'll bring it up.
Yeah.
It's
And I
that's
guess it sounds like that's enough on AppSec. I mean, we've gone deep on it for a while
yeah,
now, and I
yeah.
know you love the next category.
Security architecture. What do you mean? I do love security architecture. What do you mean? I want to be a security architect. Like, let me be part of the cool kid club. You won't let me be part of the
Everyone
cool kid
wants to
club.
be. I never said no. You could, but you've got your own team.
Let me in. I just want to hang out.
Man, everyone's welcome. I invite random people to my meetings all the time just to hang out and watch my team have some fun.
Right. So you agree that there's a security architecture is something people would encounter.
So a lot of times, yes. The interesting thing about security architecture that I've observed is that it's typically only present in like a more mature organization. Like no one walks in the door and is like, "I need an architect." Everyone walks in the door and they're like, "I need an AppSec team."
Yeah.
It's like, I get it. You're writing code. You want to make sure that you're not shipping vulnerabilities, etc. But you're kind of putting a band-aid on the problem at that point because you're responding to a problem rather than trying to prevent it. And we're very much past the age of detection and response, and now we're in the world of proactive prevention.
I have a
I
question.
know I'm making you squirm right now.
I have a question. Yeah. Well, 'cause I think you're getting way into the weeds yet. I need you to define security architecture. So that, because again, the goal of this episode is to help folks understand, as well as talk about the current and future landscape. So in your brain, what is security architecture? I have mine. I have my answer. It's written. So
I mean, I feel like people define it so differently everywhere you go. And really, what it comes down to is what does the architect do? They create plans, right? Whether you build a building or you build an application, whatever, you're creating a plan to ensure that you build something securely. These are a highly specialized set of architects. Like a lot of security architects that I work with were developers and engineers and became architects and then they specialized into security. They didn't come out into the world and be like, I'm going to be a security architect tomorrow. Like it took them a while to get there.
yeah.
Now we are seeing more and more junior versions of these people, and that's great. I would like to see it be more mainstream. Like I had an intern last year; he's great. And then they took him away, and he became an awesome security engineer.
Poop them right out when you need, because security, as you said earlier, security architecture is completely evolving away from everybody building and connecting charts in Lucid Chart or whatever the popular app is, or Paint. They're
If
yeah,
you're old school, it's paint.
it's a old school. I'm gonna build out my threat model in Paint. So whiteboarding, right? Back in the day when we had to work in the office. I mean, if you have to work in the office still, sorry, but whiteboard it and then take a picture and then put that in Confluence, right? That used to be a common thing. I worked at companies where I saw that all the time and was like, really?
People still do it. I mean, now honestly, you could draw it by hand and give it to AI, and it'll dress it up and make it real pretty for you.
Yeah, that's nice. That'd be nice.
I did. I've done diagrams recently. I just described, like, barfed the architecture into a set of bullet points and was like, "Go draw me the picture," and it did.
Oh, useful. Was good.
It got 90% of the way there, and then because I'm like OCD and the lines have to be perfect and it has to be pretty and everything has to be lined up, like I made some modifications and I made it the airplane like it needed to be.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Well, the reason I include security architecture second is because I think security architecture is the flip side of AppSec, as well as it. AppSec focuses is on the code level and the microservice level, whereas security architecture focuses on the bigger picture. They focus on the holistic system, the product coming
It's
together, and
essentially an
all.
entire platform.
Yeah, the entire platform, right? Because a lot of people don't understand that there's third-party services that integrate within your products. There, you have to manage the customer in ingest. You have to manage your own services reaching into the customer. So there's so much more that is happening that a like for me, security architecture needs to be that high level because it is that high level. And AppSec is going to focus on is the APIs authenticated coming in, right? Security architecture shouldn't have to worry about that. Should that be a checkbox there? Yeah, sure. But it should be more about the holistic systems as well as helping making sure that the system meets the company's compliance requirements. We're seeing a lot more strict things come out around how things need to be built, how things have to interact, how to, all these kind of EU and other acts and compliance requirements that I think that you need to have some highly intelligent and skilled people who their whole time is just being like, okay, this is how it's built. This meets these compliance requirements and it's built securely. I don't know. Disagree.
I mean, that's a large part of what we do is we don't just generate plans and say go build it for me. We generally participate in that. We're advisors. We speak both compliance and technical language, so we're often in the middle of auditors and engineers translating to make it make sense. But also that understanding of the big picture is extremely hard to achieve in these more complex platforms and products that exist in the world today. It's where security architects come in. It's where cloud architects come in. That's software architects. There's so many different disciplines within architecture that have to come together to make these things work. It's hard to understand all those moving pieces. And frankly, I said it earlier, setting the requirements. We own the technical security requirements for the product, but also the entire organization. So I know that we're ProdSec focused. We won't get into enterprise security because that could be a whole nother monster that we're not going to talk about
Seriously.
today.
Nope.
Um, the there are similarities. There are quite a bit of differences, but at the end of the day, yes, we're setting the base level requirements. We're shifting left with everyone else, and this is where you could arguably start talking about how security architecture is becoming more of an engineering discipline. I've met architects who have never coded a day in their life, but they are rock stars in terms of determining what security requirements are, building architectures, advising, doing the compliance thing, etc. But now how do you fit all that into the AI driven development world that we are now in?
Yeah. I don't know. How did they do
Yeah.
that? Tell me.
Well, I hinted at it earlier of you can take all those wonderful requirements that you have wrote on a page that not many people read. I'm gonna be honest, not a lot of people read it. Your team reads it, InfoSec might read it. Compliance just refers to it and says, talk to that guy. But at the end of the day, I said I wanted to automate reviews. I want to determine if you meet the base level requirements when you build the application, not after the fact, not during testing. I want to do it upfront.
Yeah.
So you can do that with AI because your coding agent can take all of that into its context and ensure that it builds what it needs to. And
Yeah.
frankly, you could offload a developer having to spend so much time thinking about specking out all of those security requirements if they just take what the security people have already defined and ensure that it's part of the context.
Well, I want to take it one step further. And this is something I think has always plagued security architecture is that they spend all their time on the left and getting to the right is really hard, right?
It's
How
a
do we
gap.
know how do you know the thing you built
I've
is
been
the
fighting
thing.
this for years.
Yeah, yeah, right. It's horrible. And I think AI
It
is
really is.
primed to do this, right? Because you
We,
can now integrate it with all your security tooling, like AppSec tooling and
yep.
maybe some of your infrastructure, and be like, okay, map it back to these requirements. And then you can actually handle that at scale with automation with AI to build out your shift right perspective, right? We always talk about shift left.
Yeah,
I don't think we talk about
it's
shift right
it's a
enough.
full life it's a full life cycle. I mean, frankly, you've heard me talk about this, and I'm doing it right now, essentially. To say, okay, doing everything on the left, that's cool. We know how to do that, whether it's human or AI driven, whatever. Now, what's built versus what's designed almost never aligns. And people are like, well, we documented it that way, but when we went to do it, it didn't work. So we had to do X, Y, and Z, but we never went back to documenting it.
Yep.
Just, I
Or
was
they
a developer. I
document
did
it
the
in a
same thing.
different document, right? Like they put it in a
Right.
sub document
And
or
now
somewhere else document. Yeah.
you have conflicting information, but now, like, and we've had tools, we've had attempts in the industry to build tools that can, like, take production and map it and create a diagram. And now you can compare the two. Like, does my design match what's actually implemented? Yes or no? Um, Never really worked that well. But what we're seeing with AI is that gap is closing fast. So now I could take the code, I can take the designs, I could take work tickets from Jira. I could take additional context out of that call or the brain of the engineer that I just talked to and dump it into my tool that's AI driven and understands all of this context and puts it together and actually start closing that gap. Verify design versus implementation. And frankly, more and more devs, the way that like Cloud Code works, for example, they are documenting the implementation live. They're telling AI what to build. And so the documentation we've always wished for, it's right there in the code now.
Yeah.
We can use that for a lot of good when it comes to security architecture. And so
Yeah.
now you've shifted left, you've shifted right, you've covered literally the whole dev life cycle.
Yeah. And that's disrupting all current tools, right? Like we've seen over the last just few years, we went from, I remember everyone doing it in like Lucidchart, where now we have like other tools. I won't name them, but there's other more automated tools where they build the diagram. And when the devs build the diagram, it spits out a bunch of low hanging fruit and good
Mhm.
stuff. To where now we're heading towards a world, as you're saying, at least if I'm paraphrasing or summarizing what you're saying, we're heading towards where we don't use any of those tools anymore. AI analyzes the applications in real time. Maybe it's something an agentic flow that runs once a day that then rebuilds the threat model and highlights the risk and maybe sends it to you in Slack or to your team in Slack and be like, hey, here's a whole set new risk because all these documents change. This is the now current state. Here are the problems and here are the change diff, right? That is
This,
really cool.
this is where we're going right now. This is what I'm working on with my team in now and over the next few months. Because the threat modeling platforms of old, like, yeah, you can still do it. It's time consuming. It's hard. Developers don't have time for it because they're moving faster than ever. So meet them where they work. AI can do this. You theoretically don't need to draw an architecture and data flow diagram anymore. You should know how because you know how to read it and understand if it's correct. But like I just said, I wrote down my plan and asked AI to, I didn't ask AI, I told AI to draw it and it did.
Can you draw it,
It got
please?
it it got
Pretty
it right,
please.
and of course, the more context you give it, it's the better it is. But I gave it
Mm.
10 bullet points, "Go build me this architecture." It did. I handed that to an engineer and said, "Go build it." And they did.
So security architecture here to stay. Very much a field. Would you just there's two things I want to bring up because I want to move on, but very much a field that people would still see. I would say most
Absolutely.
teams.
We're seeing it more.
Yeah. Do you think? I think it's unusual to see security architecture as a separate team from AppSec. Often, my past history, I saw security architects embedded in AppSec, and AppSec was holistic, a different thing, and they had like DevSecOps and other things subset in there. But would you agree or disagree that it is there? And then the other thing is with OWASP top 10 for web app, including secure design. I think it's number 4 or 5 or 3. I don't think it's 3.
It's
It's
there.
it's there, and the latest one says secure design, and I think it's one of the first times where threat modeling and designing your application from the ground up is like it's a whole category. It was one of the few things
Yep.
that I was like, "Wow, I can't believe they dropped this," because that is a huge implication. That's also changing. I'm like, I think QSA, and QSA, those are like auditors essentially.
Mhm.
They haven't understood what the new OWASP top 10 web app means. And then like all these compliance same frameworks say, hey, are you OWASP, top 10? And I'm like, majority of companies I don't think are. Like if you took it in a strict sense and you were a strict auditor, whew, people are not passing.
I agree.
Okay. Mm, cool. Let's go to
So
the next one.
I think there's one more that you had on the list for today.
Yeah, we have
It's a fun one.
do we have one more or is it two more? One more. Oh, there's one more. All
One
right,
more.
cool.
It's a fun one. We've done multiple episodes on it, and I hope to do another one with a guest here
Oh,
sometime in the near future. I won't name who my hopeful guest is yet, though, because
mm,
I don't want to disappoint. But anyway, it is cloud security.
yeah. Now, this one, I feel like you're smirking because you don't agree with me. That true?
There's no right answer to any of this. I know we've
No,
talked about this,
that's fair.
and
Well, you would see
you built
cloud
this
security
out.
engineers, right? You would see cloud security engineers in a
Cloud security absolutely is a function.
yeah,
Depending where you go, sometimes it shows up as a whole team. Sometimes you just have a subset of cloud security engineers. Um, you can have specialized cloud security architects, but like when I build my teams, I expect a more comprehensive understanding, like enterprise and cloud, because we do enterprise and product. Now, if
yeah,
I'm just fully focused on product and we're building in the cloud, then absolutely go be a cloud security architect.
mhm,
Great. Cloud security as a function is extremely important. It took the world by storm, what, like 2014, 2015, and it's here to stay
yep.
because so much is built in the cloud. Um, so I'm not smirking because I disagree. I'm smirking because, well, this happens to be my jam, man.
Okay. Okay. All right. I just in my brain, I think it should be a separate discipline and a separate part. My biggest problem is I think a lot of companies and a lot of organizations in ProdSec they embed teams and convolute their titles and what's going on. And so there's not as much clear distinction on who owns what and who should be doing what. And so that's where
Absolutely.
when I built this out, I was like, again, greenfield. If I had my own way, I was like the CISO or the chief, whatever, chief product security officer at that time, and I could build it out from greenfield. This is how we still have more categories, but I would break cloud security into a separate one, and I think cloud security would own infrastructure as code. They would own containers. They would own Kubernetes security, CSPM. They would partner with another team that I haven't said yet around AIM governance. They would manage the WAF because for whatever reason we have to have WAFs turned on. There's so many compliance frameworks that it's a big debate. I think I brought this up in our when it was a Slack, and I got a lot of flack for saying WAFs are dead. Essentially, I personally don't find the use. They give me lots of headaches. Uh, Every company I've ever been at, they've given me headaches. The only good WAF I've ever had was not a cloud provider one, right? Getting a good vendor who does it and that's their bread and butter, right? They have to be good at it. So I've always had better success with those ones, but that costs money and it's hard to justify something that's practically free versus something that's going to cost like $100,000 or more,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, the last subject's up for debate. It depends on where you're at. Like, I just went to Forward CloudSec earlier this week and went to a talk by a guy at Adobe who's local here in Seattle, and he gave a great talk on how they are using AI and adapting. They have 6 different WAF providers, and he talked about how they build out rules and and scale
Like,
this
does it
and test
distribute it
them.
like
Like,
across all of them? Like, is that what
yeah,
they're
and
trying to like
essentially
use AI one interface?
they're building rule sets and like testing them and making sure they're ready to go out into production, and they're adapting continuously. Like, they've built this whole thing, this whole big WAF machine, and it is successful for them. And I mean, it's not to say WAFs are the end all be all solution. What a WAF does essentially is say, well, there's vulnerabilities out in the world that you need to protect against. We say assume compromise or assume breach. It's there is no perfection. You will get popped at some point. May not be a newsworthy event, but you're gonna have an event.
Yeah.
WAFs slow things down. It's defense in depth. So if it works for your particular applications or products that you're hosting because they're public facing, great. Use them. Make sure you use them well and they're providing value, or else they're pointless.
Yeah.
Well, I also feel like WAF is not a flashy technology, and it's not
No,
an expertise that most people learn. Like,
no, it's
and
trial by fire in most cases.
trial by fire, and the fire is you're taking down prod or causing customers not being able to do that. It becomes
Yeah,
major
it can
headaches.
drop traffic and break
Yeah,
everything.
and break everything. And
It's
so
literally a web application firewall.
it's like people are scared to use it. It's an expertise and skill that most people aren't trained on, and they're finding expertise with good WAFs, and nobody really wants to own it because it's a frustrating technology. Like those are the things that frustrate me with WAFs. All right, we can have a whole episode on WAFs. We should bring a whole bunch of people on and talk about why WAFs
We
are
should
great
have a
or not
WAF
great.
debate.
Yeah,
Yeah, we should do a WAF debate in the future. But cloud security is so much bigger than WAFs. Like,
so much
yes,
bigger
it's
than WAFs.
one tiny piece.
Yeah,
It's like 2% of what you
yeah,
do in cloud security.
it's true.
You've
I
got
mean,
networking, you've got identity and access management, you've got all the crazy tools. Like you mentioned CSPM, which,
yeah, runtime protection stuff, all kinds of things.
yeah, it's huge. And I mean, that's essentially why you need multiple people tasked with ensuring it's done right.
Yeah,
It's like I often run into a situation where people expect the security architects to do cloud security, and like that sometimes that works depending on your organization, but a lot of times it's like I'm doing that for fun when I can in my free time, and that model carries risk because it means it's not the priority.
that's
Whereas,
why that's why I broke it out into a separate section because I think majority of teams do not have proper cloud security, and I would break it out and have cloud security engineers. They would own all like most companies are in 3 CSPMs, so all AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. And so each one of those is different. You have to
yeah,
manage it differently. Some teams you can't justify to get some kind of management platform that integrates with all of them so you can push similar controls and make sure management's across that. So you have to go into each three clouds, and then you have to have every your engineer understand all the nuances of each cloud. Like
yep.
that's a whole skill set. You can, like, and then oftentimes it's shifted on to AppSec or it's shifted on to security architecture. And I'm like, do you have unicorns on your team that can threat model, secure design, and know how every single cloud configures at the configuration level? Like that's a unicorn, somebody who's getting paid a lot, and a lot of us don't have that kind of budget.
I have a
Sorry,
couple of
that's
those.
my rant. That's my rant, dude. It just
Yeah,
drives me bananas that it's
it's
unrealistic.
hard. I mean, I've worked in models like I just said, I have a couple of those and they're great, but they can't do it all. We spend a lot of time prioritizing and reprioritizing. I've worked in places where you've had specialized individuals or small teams of like two or three that are focused on AWS, and then there's a team focused on Azure, and there's another team focused on Google. And I mean, a lot of cloud security engineers and architects these days are versed in multiple clouds, so they might help each other out on occasion. But yes, it's absolutely a necessary discipline. And I mean, again, AI is bleeding into everything. So those AI services that operate in the cloud now, they have just another thing to become an expert on.
Yeah. One more thing, I just think from a security side, like managing IAM in each CSPM is just it's awful. Like it is so much, and like you come into a company
Yep.
that never did it before, like you come in greenfield, company's already been running for years, you're gonna get in there and it's just gonna be a cluster. It's gonna be bananas with how
Yeah.
many AIM like issues you have, right? So many roles that shouldn't be there, over permissioned, like everything's got
I'm
global admin. It's
fighting
it's
that
it's
fight right
bananas.
now. We identity security is special to me. We've torn that apart on at least two episodes. Cloud security is where I've spent a large part of my career at this point. We're kind of bleeding into giving the preview of the next episode with talking about IAM, or identity and access management for those of you who like to spell it out. But it's difficult doing that across three clouds. Like you want a headache? Go play with IAM across three clouds. I promise you, your head will hurt in less than an hour.
Yeah, it's literally
And that's why
bananas.
there's some big bad technology platforms that can help you unify that.
Yeah. Again, it's crazy. So I think that yes, cloud security should be its own domain, and in most companies you will encounter. So yeah, anything else on cloud security you want to summarize or
I
talk
think
about?
to the last point where we started bleeding into identity, I guess I'll this will bring some continuity into the next episode, but I'm a firm believer, and I've seen a lot of benchmarks where identity is a dedicated team.
Yeah, yeah. Then that leads us into the next episode. We'll jump into that. So to summarize kind of what we're talking about, right? DevSecOps is dead. Just gotta say that. AppSec is a domain.
You love saying that.
I love saying it. Yeah, well, because it's always frustrated me, the distinctions. But AppSec is definitely a domain you will find. What they will do, again, every one of these domains we're talking about, every single company is subjective because they have needs. Somebody threw a title, somebody did something, and humans did it, and humans are not following. Like, there's no strict definitions for each one of these things. There's not like this does that. Like these domains are self-described, company defined, individual defined. So it's very different, but you will encounter something where AppSec defines is most of the time securing the code, sometimes does threat modeling, sometimes you'll have a security architect team, sometimes you have security architects embedded into AppSec. Same with cloud security engineers. Maybe they'll be their separate domain, maybe they'll be in there and they'll be doing AppSec stuff. Like
Yeah.
you don't know.
Well,
So you'll have to
the
read the
team
roles.
structure differs massively
Yeah.
organization to organization. And so the domains we're talking about are more like disciplines. Like a lot of us are versed in multiple disciplines. And what I will say is if you're building a program, like you said earlier, think about the questions you would ask as you think about building a ProdSec program from the ground up. Is a lot of times in security, we hear people say, start with visibility. Like, you jump the gun on that one. What do you do before you get visibility every single time? You start with the problems that you're looking to solve.
Hmm.
So start with the problem, and then you determine which of these domains and disciplines that you need to bring together. And your team structures are easy to change, but getting the right resources in place is the hard part.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Alrighty. I'm out of coffee.
So,
I finished it like 5 minutes ago.
yeah, bottom of the cut. We were twins today. Same mug,
Same mug, same mug. Yeah.
right?
Alrighty. Well, that was fun. I'm excited for part two. We'll jump into the remaining domains, which is what, one, two, three, four, another five. Five domains. Yeah, five.
It's gonna be tough in a short amount of time.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll get it done. So I think there's some shorter ones
Oh,
there. So
yeah,
I don't
we
each one
know
of these
identity is one.
I feel like each one of these domains we could do a whole episode on. I mean, if you're interested in want a
Easily.
whole domain, maybe we can bring in some other experts or something. Reach out to us, give us your feedback. I don't know. I wish we could podcast every single day because there's just too much to cover. It feels like at times. If we want us to have current events and
Yeah,
defining what's happening,
seriously.
we could do this every
Once
day.
a week can't do it, but maybe one day this will be our full time job. Who knows?
It'd be cool. Be cool. All right.
But the coffee's empty. It's been fun. Like, subscribe, smash the smash. Find us on LinkedIn, Discord, Slack. We're even on YouTube. You can see our faces now. Sometimes
Yeah.
Cameron makes a weird face at me when he tries to mess me up in the intro.
Well, every
It's
time.
fun.
Every time.
Yeah, it's good. But thanks for joining us again. This is Coffee Chaos and ProdSec signing off. See you all next time.